is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Harry Potter, the Rereading, chapters 11 and 12, the Dueling Club, and the Polyjuice Potion. In these chapters, Harry outs himself as a Parseltongue in front of everyone. Also, Malfoy didn't do it. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Natasha.
I am RoShawn.
And these couple chapters, I'm just struck by how packed these first two books are, how close together things happen. What did you think of this section?
I loved it. I had forgotten a couple of minor things that were good to be reminded of, specifically Harry in Dumbledore's office and the few minutes he has alone. You know, I had forgotten about the thing with the sorting hat that he puts the hat back on.
Right.
And has a little conversation. I forgot all about that. And then, of course, I enjoyed when fucking Fawkes, combust.
Oh, my God.
And Harry,
yeah.
I forgot that happened right after he had found fucking Justin's body and nearly headless Nick. So he's like, oh my God, I didn't fucking touch the bird.
I swear. Oh no. Yeah.
So yeah. It was good stuff. And you're right. There is a lot of stuff happening early in this book.
You're looking at the illustrated version, right?
I am.
What is the thing on the top of chapter 11 that's all bloody looking?
I thought it was the snake that comes out of Malfoy's wand.
That doesn't look like a snake.
It doesn't, but that's what I just kind of thought it was. What else could it be?
I don't know. I'm looking at it oh, wait. Maybe this is because there's flies. Maybe these are the ingredients to the potion? Boomslang skin? Maybe?
Maybe, but isn't that in the next chapter when they do the potion?
I mean, they work on it in, this chapter, the Dueling Club
That's
starts
true.
off with Harry
That's
going...
True.
It's just kind of not easily identifiable and an odd thing to start the chapter off with.
Yeah.
I guess. So Harry...
Oh, she says something about leeches, too.
Is that what... Leeches don't look like that, do they?
They don't, but they're usually... usually you think about leeches and blood. And I was like, maybe that's why there's blood splatter everywhere. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm staring at it. I can't figure it out. So Harry wakes up. His bones are back. And, bones are back in town.
Oh my God, stop it.
Owen hates that song so much. Hates it. And he is a little bit hurt that his friends are not there. But when he finds them in the girls' bathroom, they're like, yeah, we found out about the other attack, so we decided we better get the fuck to work.
Yeah.
Understandable.
I love that he knew exactly where to find them, too.
Right? Yeah.
Because he knows what's up. He knows what this is.
And he tells them what he overheard Dumbledore and McGonagall talking about. And Hermione's like, it's been opened before? And Ron's like, oh, well then there you go. Lucius opened the chamber when he was at school, and now he's told Draco how. Which, it does seem logical.
It makes sense. I mean, if you gotta jump to a conclusion, that's a reasonable one to jump to.
Yep.
We find out later that the Chamber of Secrets happened way before Lucius was even in school. But, Ron doesn't know that at this point. So, if I remember, actually, I don't remember if I believed Malfoy was behind this, but I feel like I would have believed that.
Yeah.
Because at this point in the books, Malfoy is as good a suspect as anybody.
I think that's where you kind of were, was that, like, there was a big part of you that was like, that isn't who it is, though. But you couldn't figure out who else it could be.
Right, yeah. It just doesn't seem like there's any other options. And there's really not. There's really no other options at this point. There's not even a hint of that it's going in the direction that it ended up going.
Mm-hmm. And then he tells them about Dobby visiting him and breaking his arm and stopping him from the train. And then we go to a series of vignettes, basically, of people flipping out over the attacks and people starting to, like, avoid Harry, and Ginny is very agitated, and the twins are trying to cheer her up by, like, scaring her all the time.
Oh my god, fucking Fred and George.
It is not working out, as one might expect. And
disguising themselves to look like everything terrible, and then jumping out randomly at their little sister.
Yeah.
To make her feel better.
That, like, I don't know what brain they have that they think that's...
Two of them. The one brain.
The one brain that they share. I mean, it's just like, if they think that would cheer her up, then they must think that would cheer them up. Like, we often do things for people that we think would work for us, right? Yeah. And what a weird thing to think would work on you. Like, why? What kind of person is that?
Well, they're exactly the kind of person that loves a good gag above everything.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
They really appreciate a good prank. So to them, this is like exactly what you need to get your mind off of all the terrifying things that are happening.
They only stopped when Percy, apoplectic with rage, told them he was going to write to Mrs. Weasley and tell her Ginny was having nightmares. Mm-hmm. And then there's the roaring trade in talismans, amulets, and other protective devices. Mm-hmm. And this is where poor Neville Longbottom has bought himself a bunch of garbage.
Yeah, he has spent like all his little coins on a bunch of shit, only to be reminded that, you know, as a pureblood, he's probably safe. But even that doesn't make him feel better.
No, he's like, you know, they went after Filch first, and everyone knows I'm almost a squib. Which, like, knowing how great he becomes later, hearing him call himself a squib is just like, oh, sweetie, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no, baby. What is he doing?
Yeah. Poor Neville. I mean, how satisfying is his whole story,
right?
Especially when his grandmother is finally, like, acknowledges out loud how proud she is of him.
Yep.
Because, you know, I always get the feeling that she loved him tremendously, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I never thought that his grandmother disliked him. Mm-mm. But the idea that she was disappointed in him, I think, was very clear.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's even worse, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, Dursleys treated Harry terribly. But Harry also didn't, you know, give a fuck what they thought about him after a while.
Right.
You know, Neville doesn't really have that luxury, you know, to not give a fuck what his grandmom thinks about him.
Nope, he doesn't. And I mean, it's coming from a different place. Like, if the Dursleys hated Harry because he wasn't maintaining the dignity of the memory of his parents through his skill, that's a very different reason.
Exactly.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's a difference between, like, disliking someone and being disappointed in someone. Mm-hmm. You know, and I feel like the latter is harder to bear.
So then they're talking about what they're going to do to get the rest of the ingredients for the Polyjuice Potion, because Hermione is just like, so we have to steal it. Mm-hmm. Hope that you guys are cool with that. Yeah. And
it should probably be me that does it. Mm-hmm. Because you guys can't take another hit or you're going to get booted out of school.
I am a big fan of Hermione's, like, complete determination and disregard for the rules in the face of what is happening.
Yes.
It makes me very happy.
I feel like it kind of gets glossed over how what a departure it is that she's willing to do something like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because she's such a goody, especially still so early in the stories. She's such a little goody-goody, you know. And we've seen flashes of her before breaking the rules, but this is just like, fuck it, I'll steal it.
Yep.
And that's a big deal.
It's like, it's the kind of thing, because, you know, you see these, I'm going to go with a slightly less controversial, you know, example. But for an example, when there is a school that has ridiculous dress codes and somebody gets sent home, and the argument that everybody poses is, well, they were violating the dress code. I mean, it's in the rules. And nobody stops to go like, yeah, should the rules apply? Like, do those rules make sense in the face of something that is unjust? Should we not change the rules? And that's where I really like that JK kind of draws the line with Hermione. That Hermione is a goody two-shoes until she's looking at injustice and you know, somebody being targeted. And then she's like, oh, fuck the rules. I'm doing what I need to do.
She is not a rule breaker for the sake of breaking rules. You know, she will follow a rule if she thinks that it's just and that it makes sense. But if it doesn't, she doesn't hesitate to be like, fuck that bullshit, you know? And I agree. I love that she's written to have that kind of nuance, you know? She's not just fucking blindly following every rule because it's written.
Like Percy, for example.
Like a Percy. A Percy.
Don't be a Percy. God, he's such a fucking Percy, isn't he? That should be one of the patron postcards, is don't be a Percy. That's gonna happen. What kind
of picture would we use for that?
Maybe like a head boy badge.
Oh my God,
maybe I can find something, or I'm trying to think of something that represents bureaucracy, like really represents it, that isn't specific to, like, you know, modern Muggle offices, and I can't think of anything.
I think it was like a head boy badge wrapped in red tape.
I'm just like, something like this, but I'm like, you guys listening, all of you peoples, if you can think of something that's like perfect and you're yelling at your phone right now, like, why isn't she? Please tell me, because, and make it, like, if possible, make whatever object something that I can get, like, a clip art from Canva, because I can't really, like, illustrate, and I can, but not, like, effectively with the technology that I have. So it would be nice if it was something that I could, you know, that was sort of a generic object. I'm thinking like a quill and a ink pot. That's nothing.
All I can think from that one, whenever I see a quill attached to Harry Potter, I'm just going to fucking think of Umbridge.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. That's kind of perfect, though, because the whole deal with Percy is that he went along with somebody like Umbridge and thought she was delightful. So if you,
I mean, they kind of go together. They go together, but not like dating.
They do, though. Like, I get what you mean. She can't be who she is without blind followers.
Yeah.
So maybe that is right. Maybe a quill, but not quite. Something. I'll think about it. So, Harry has to create the diversion so that Hermione can steal the ingredients, and his diversion is to throw a fucking firecracker into somebody's cauldron of potion.
Listen, so, okay.
Right?
So
yeah.
I'm reading this, and he ducks down under his desk when he gets the nod from Hermione. It's like, now's the time to do it. And I'm thinking, oh, is he gonna knock his cauldron over or something? And
amateur.
Then he pulls out a fucking firecracker and like shoots it off in the class. like, what are you doing?
Oh my God.
And if I remember correctly, this is something he gets away with.
Yeah.
Like, this never comes back up, and Snape never gets him for this.
He does not. He knows that it was him. Like,
of course he knows.
In his guts, he knows.
But yeah, he never pins it on Harry. So knowing that that's something he gets away with just gives me great pleasure, even though this is ridiculous. Like, this is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
A simple knocking over of the cauldron, or him and Ron doing something together. But it was effective, so I feel like I don't want to be too harsh.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, that's the main thing is that, you're called an idiot if it fails, and you're called a genius if it succeeds. So
Right. Like, if he had known it was Harry, the consequences of this action would have been
astronomical.
Really?
Yeah.
Such a risk to take. Oh, it's crazy. He's crazy.
So she gets her ingredients.
Yeah.
And,
the firecracker, the cauldron it goes into is, what is it called? It's a swelling solution.
Yes. So then Malfoy has this fucking nose the size of a small melon that's like weighing his face down.
I thought we were going to get an illustration of that, and we didn't, and I was sad.
I feel you. Yeah. So then we go to a week later, and the dueling club notice has been put up, and everybody's abuzz about it. And when they show up, they're hoping that it's going to be Flitwick because, Charms teacher.
Yeah.
But
and also had been a champion dueler at some point.
Right.
Right? But no, that's not who they get.
Let's see. Someone told me Flitwick was a dueling champion when he was young. Maybe it'll be him. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out because I completely forgot that she mentions that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was I thought this was going to be a real dueling club, like with swords and shit.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
And I was like, yeah, that's good because they're fighting a monster, so that makes perfect sense that they should learn how to defend themselves.
Oh, I love it. Like, what did you think the monster would be fencing? Like, how do you, what? I'm just picturing, like, in Bugs Bunny, that big red monster that, like, chases him around the castle, but he's got, like, a rapier.
I just feel like, there's a long history of slaying monsters with swords. So, and I clearly did not understand the relationship of the wand and how important it was at this point in the stories.
Right. True.
I didn't understand that yet. So in my mind, the fact that they would have a magic wand and decide to put it in their pocket and then pull out a sword made perfect sense to me.
Bless your heart. Oh my God.
But this was much cooler.
I fucking hope so.
Much better idea.
So, yeah, it turns out that it is Lockhart and Snape who will be fighting. That's a bad idea, but okay, sure.
This duel with him and Lockhart is so fucking great. It's so good. It's so good. Because really, didn't we all want to see Lockhart on his ass?
That's the thing, right? Is like you don't even know who to root for because you're like, Snape, you're so fucking terrible, but...
I was going to say, even if it's coming from Snape, like, you're like, I'll take it.
I agree. I really do agree. And it's a shame that Lockhart plays everything off. Like, of course he does. Of course. Yeah. Of course he does. But you're just kind of like hoping that he'll be humiliated despite himself, and yet he just seems immune to it. It's like he doesn't even realize it's happening.
It fucking bounces right off of him. It is, and that kind of person is infuriating in real life. Just you can never get them because everything is, I meant to do that. I meant for it to work that way. you know.
Yep.
Yeah, I said this one thing, but I really meant the other thing, so it doesn't count. It just, they're insufferable. And
this is really good writing. Like, he just, because, yeah, like you said, everybody knows somebody like this.
yeah, yeah. And Snape is, I think it's fair to say, he is seething. And Lockhart either doesn't see it or just doesn't. He doesn't see anything but himself, really, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just completely impervious to Snape's glares.
So finally, he's like, after getting knocked on his ass, it's like, okay, maybe let's just move it right along here and get to the dueling part. And Snape is like, oh yeah, I'm totally pairing up Potter and Malfoy because I want to see some fucking mayhem, please.
Yeah. Which is super irresponsible as a teacher. I mean, not even getting into what that tells us about the character. I don't mean like the written character. I mean the character of Snape. Mm-hmm. Like, just what a piece of shit he is.
Yep.
And I know he loved Lily. That's all great.
Whatever.
But he is a piece of shit because he's the adult, he's the teacher, and he puts these two kids together basically just for funsies. Mm-hmm. To give himself something to smirk about. I mean, this is why this month's postcard is Snape was still a dick, though. I mean, it's very clear. Self-evident. Yeah. And he doesn't just put them together, but he aids Malfoy. Mm-hmm. In a way that Lockhart is incapable of aiding Harry.
Yeah.
Doesn't he drop his wand at one point, Lockhart?
Lockhart drops his wand. First he drops it because of Expelliarmus. And then he drops it trying to show Harry how to block a spell. Yes. Because he obviously does not know how to block a spell. And he says, my wand got a little overexcited. Yeah, see? And then he walks and he says, Harry, just do what I did. Yeah. And Harry's like, what, drop the wand? And he just ignores that. Yes. And then lets him go. 1, 2, 3. Or 3, 2, 1, whatever. And leaves Harry completely, not defenseless, but kind of defenseless. Yeah. Doesn't give him any instruction. And Snape is able to give Malfoy some fucking real fucking shit to say. And all Harry can do is stand there. Mm-hmm. So he uses a spell that creates a giant snake, and the snake is approaching Harry, and Lockhart very helpfully intervenes, does something that just causes the snake to be thrown into the air and come smacking down onto the floor, even more angry than it was a second ago. Mm-hmm. And then it starts to go after Justin Finch-Fletchley, and Harry steps between the snake and Justin and yells, "Leave him." And the snake is cowed, and Snape steps forward and gets rid of the snake and is looking at Harry in this weird way, and Harry's feeling kind of proud that the snake backed off, and he looks up at Justin, and Justin looks really upset, and Harry's like, well, what the fuck, dude? And there's all this like weird murmuring and tension in the room, like the energy in the room has shifted, and like Harry notices it, but just kind of like vaguely notices it. Yeah. And Ron is pretty much like, we should probably go. We need to go. And just kind of ushers him right out of the room. And Harry doesn't know what the fuck is happening. Yeah. Like, why are people being weird? Why was Justin looking at him like this? Why is Ron, rushing him out of the room? Didn't I just do something awesome? Mm-hmm. It turns out, well, you did something. Yeah, first of all, he's like, oh, yeah, I mean, I can talk to a snake. I mean, what's the big deal? Yeah. And Ron's like, well, that's very unusual. And Harry's like, well, I mean, I told it to leave him alone. And Ron's like, oh, is that what you said? And Harry's like, you telling me I didn't speak English? And he's like, nope. Yeah, because Harry knows that, like, he even says offhandedly, like, well, I did it. Because they're like, why didn't you tell us? And he's like, well, I talked to one snake before. And he starts to sort of talk about the thing at the zoo. Mm-hmm.
Because Harry really thinks he thinks that the trick here is that the snakes understand him.
Yeah, I think
right?
He just thinks that this is a wizard thing. Like, yeah, once I wound up on the roof at school and once I talked to a snake,
Yeah. And he's also like, I'm sure lots of people can do this, right? It's just a part of the deal. And they have to be like, no, it's not. And even then, Harry is still like, well, it doesn't matter because the snake understood what I said and he stopped. Because he still doesn't realize that he's speaking an entirely different language.
Right.
Right? Because to him, it just sounds like him speaking, to his ears. He doesn't hear himself speaking it the way everybody else hears him.
Right.
Which is kind of interesting because when you're speaking German or Spanish or whatever, you hear yourself that you're speaking a different language.
Hopefully.
Right?
You hear something happening.
But this doesn't work this way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very strange... Like, later on, Harry does hear it. But he has to kind of focus in order to be able to. He hears like this weird whispering coming out of his mouth.
That is true, yeah. So maybe that comes later when he's more... I don't know. I don't want to, like... connected to Voldemort, maybe?
Maybe.
But at this point, he doesn't hear it at all. And they are freaked out.
Yeah, they are.
Even Ron and Hermione are freaked out.
So Harry's just like, well, you know what? I'm just going to fucking explain to Justin. Mm-hmm. Although he really feels like I shouldn't have to fucking explain because it was pretty clear that the snake left him alone. So, okay.
Yeah.
And when he goes to find Justin, first of all, there's this gorgeous illustration of Hogwarts in the snow.
Yeah. Oh, but before we get to that, when they're talking about, because they have to tell him about the thing about Salazar.
Right, yeah.
And then Harry starts to get a little panicky.
Yep.
Like he starts to feel like, oh shit, is that what people think?
Mm-hmm.
Like I gotta tell him that's not what this is. And, but he realizes that it's going to be hard to convince people.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if your own friends are like, oh, is that what you were saying? Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then he has the sort of flashback about the Sorting Hat. Right. Telling him that he could maybe go to Slytherin and he would do very well there. So he starts to be really kind of insecure about what this Parseltongue deal means for him.
Right. Okay, so then the gorgeous illustration of Hogwarts in the snow.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really pretty.
I think I'm going to use this for the post. Do you think?
A little bit.
Oh, I don't think so. I think it's gorgeous. It's comforting to me.
I think, well, yeah. I think because outside of the school itself, there's like all these cute snowmen, with little hats and stuff. But then the other page seems a little gloomier. It's all gray and you can't make out that other building.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it is gorgeous, though.
This is the kind of thing that I want to look outside and see on a snowy day.
Yeah?
Yeah, like everything being kind of like blurred and indistinct. So Harry goes to find Justin Finch Fletchley in the library. And he unfortunately does that thing that we all hate, where he overhears a group of people talking about him.
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm sorry. We've been having some problems with Skype, and it has just abruptly quit on me several times. And unfortunately, I have been using Zencastr instead of Skype due to this problem, but the sound quality with RoShawn on Zencastr wasn't as good, so I thought we could risk using Skype again, and I was wrong. So, if this sound quality from here on seems a little less than it had been earlier in the episode, it is because we have switched to Zencastr. My apologies. It's like,
sometimes
you just
cannot
can't win, man, So, what we were talking about was this weird theory that Voldemort killed Harry because of Dark Wizard competition.
Yeah, the conjecture is all over the place, and it is wild. And
oh my god!
They're saying that just being able to speak Parseltongue is actually a mark of the Dark Wizard, which I don't even know if that doesn't seem true, but apparently it is right. Fact now. And they're really going back and forth.
Have you ever heard of a decent one who could talk to snakes? They called Slytherin himself Serpent Tongue.
Mm-hmm. And then they start saying, Colin was sort of annoying Harry. So maybe that's what Harry's motive was. And, Harry had that run-in with Filch, and maybe that's what happened there.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
No.
For people to really start, side-eyeing Harry.
And I mean, not for nothing, Harry has been at the scene of several of these crimes, once at least.
Yeah, at this point,
the thing goes down.
Yeah.
At this point, it's just been the one.
I mean, so yeah, it's about to get way worse.
Right.
Yeah. And he has a run-in with, what the fuck is that kid's name?
Ernie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy is trying to, stand tall, I guess, despite this kid being like, hey, talking about me, huh?
Right.
Just like, well, yeah, I mean, you're a bad man.
Yeah, we all saw it. We were all there, we all saw it. And, even though Ernie's, kind of shook, he's still, like you said, he's still trying to stand up. And, that is making Harry.
Yeah, he says...
Oh, go ahead.
Did we just lose each other again? Oh, my fucking God. Okay, everybody, I'm sorry. We just got cut off yet again. I don't know. I think it must be my internet connection. I don't know what it is. But this is, the 7th time we've been cut off tonight. And it is midnight RoShawn's time. And this is ridiculous. So we are going to cut this episode short. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to look into what's going on here and try and fix it. Hopefully by next week I will be able to either upgrade my internet or, I don't know, fix the router, whatever the fuck. And hopefully this won't happen again. I've been having issues all week, but it's been the worst tonight that it's been since Monday, which was also recording with RoShawn for Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But it's not me this time. That was terrible.
I don't think it's been you either time.
Yeah. Monday night was bad too.
Yeah, that was a rough one. I don't think people can hear it once they listen to the episode because I was able to cut it together pretty well, but we got cut off about 8 times during that. So yeah, I'm sorry everybody. I'm not even going to do announcements and everything this week because it is just... We're going to lose each other any second again, I'm sure. It's been about 5 minutes at a time that we can go before we lose each other again. So, my apologies. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Please leave a review on iTunes. You know where to find us on Facebook, facebook.com/unspoiledpod, Twitter at unspoiledshow. Thank you to everybody who's been donating on the GoFundMe. I will list all of you by name next week, I promise. And new patrons, same to you. I will be listing you next week. So thank you, everybody, for your support. Sorry again. And we'll see you next week with the remainder of this and 2 more chapters. 2.5 chapters. Thanks, guys. Sorry. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.